Hello everyone, my name is Helen Spencer-Oatey from the Global People team at the University of Warwick. Welcome to this webinar, Global Fitness for Work. This is the third in our series on this topic, and today we're going to be looking at assessment and strategic planning. So we'll be looking at these key questions. First of all, why might you want to assess in the area of global fitness? That affects what you need to assess. Secondly, you might need to think who is being assessed, because that also will affect what you assess. Then we'll briefly explain the global people assessment options. And finally, what about next steps? Okay, first of all then, let's look at this question, why assess? Now, often I'm contacted and people will say, I want to find out how interculturally competent our staff or our employees are. And that's their main focus. Fine, but remember in the earlier webinars we talked about other aspects of the global fitness strength cycle. So it's important to bear in mind those too. But let's just start by thinking of this issue, how interculturally competent are our staff, our employees. This could be important for performance appraisal. It might also be important if you're wanting to select people for a new project or consider their suitability for promotion or a new post, and where you're focusing particularly on the outcome goals. However, it's not always good to focus exclusively on those. It's better if you can also look at the other facets of the global fitness strength cycle. So, what's important really is giving the employees, your employees, the support and opportunities to grow and develop and to build their global fitness. So it's also useful for coaching support, training and development, learning gain. Now, this is a slightly different aspect because with learning gain, this is a bit more strategic. It could be that you have taken various initiatives, for instance, improving opportunities in the environment, opportunities to stretch and so on. The employees may be engaging in training of different sorts or taking part in different types of activities. You may want to check the effectiveness of those different initiatives. And then through that, you could use tools for assessing learning gain. You may also want to benchmark with other sections of your organization in different parts of the world, or perhaps across departments or across the sector. In all these cases, you need to consider assessment not so much just for individual assessment of your employees' competence, but also the strategic planning from a more macro level. So, in that sense, you need, as I say, to think of those other elements of the global fitness strength cycle. So, for instance, how are the organizations, how are you providing the opportunities, the global fitness environment? Can you do better? Could you try something new? The tools that we talk about provide you with the information on that kind of thing. And then what about the staff? How far are the staff engaging with the opportunities? When you remember, we talked before of moving out of their comfort zone and so on. So that information is also really important. So for strategic planning, you actually need to capture all those facets. If you only focus on the outcome goals, you will miss the opportunity to find routes to really help your staff, your employees, grow and build and develop that global fitness strengths. You may remember in an earlier webinar, we showed this trajectory. So in other words, you might be here where you've the Global Fitness Foundations, where there is multicultural working, diverse teams internally, externally, but perhaps limited strategic planning and support. Or you may be en route to the global fitness engagement where you are aware of these needs and actually are trying to plan for it so that you can reach here global fitness competency with high levels of intercultural competence amongst all the employees. So the tools are particularly helpful for helping you move your organization from global fitness foundations towards global fitness engagement. Okay, let's now move on to the second question. Who are you assessing? Or who do you want to assess? And then what to assess? Now, what we've indicated so far is, in a sense, all your employees or all your employees in a particular department or section. Those that are perhaps involved in international work, or perhaps it's a very diverse community. So then, as we've mentioned, you would want to assess the different elements of the global fitness strength cycle. So our Global Professionals Profiler offers that opportunity. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. It's possible, though, that you don't actually want to assess all your employees. It may be that you have a certain expatriate cohort or sets of cohorts who have felt it's difficult to adapt or different reasons. And so you may want to include an adaptation focus. We'd still be using the Global Fitness Strength Cycle, but here you would see there would be measures on adaptation, which is an outcome goal. But it's not just a question of whether the employees, whether the expatriates immerse themselves in the local context and it's, as it were, all their responsibility to be integrated and to grow and adapt. It's also a responsibility of the host environment. Because if the host environment is not receptive, if the local employees are not open to interacting and working efficiently and smoothly with the expatriate staff, then it will be very difficult for the expatriate staff too. So that's why if you're focusing on expatriates, you need some constructs in each of the elements of the global fitness strength cycle to be captured in the measurement. And our global mobility profiler offers that opportunity. So for commercial organizations, we actually have two different tools, each with some flexibility. So the global professionals profiler is for situations where you want to probe all employees who are involved in working in diverse contexts, whether internally and or externally. As I've explained, it covers global fitness environment, global fitness engagement routines, and the global fitness outcomes. In other words, all elements of the global fitness strength cycle. Having said that, though, it's somewhat modular in design so that each of those elements, the environment, the engagement routines, and the outcomes, has a number of different constructs. Now, constructs may be a bit of a technical word, but what it means is different sort of aspects that might be covered. It could be well-being, for instance, or it could be foreign language learning opportunities and so on. So the GPP, the Global Professional Profiler, allows you the opportunity to select the aspects that are particularly relevant for you. And you can choose them across the three different facets of the strength cycle. But of course, we would make certain recommendations. Then, if you wanted to focus on the expatriate portion of your employees, we have the Global Mobility Profiler. This is for employees who are working in a culturally unfamiliar environment, people who've come from a very different sort of background for whatever reason. It could be national, but it could be other kinds of culturally unfamiliar contexts. Again, we would probe across the three elements of the strength cycle: environment, engagement routines, and outcomes. But we would have some different constructs that particularly probe the issues of adaptation. So again, modular in design, but again, it would come with certain recommended options or combinations. So if you'd like to know anything more about those, for instance, what the constructs are, how you could select them, how many to select, and so on, do contact us for more details. Email us. You can see the email address there, or you could, that's the global people, the team. You could email me directly, or Daniel Dalber, who works with me very closely on this particular aspect. Do visit our website, the Global People website. You can see, again, the URL there. And do listen to our other Global Fitness for Work webinars so that you can understand the full picture. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions now, do add them now to the chat box. But we thank you for listening. Do get in touch with us. Thank you.